Good morning, beautiful people. Welcome to yet another episode of the Younib Breakfast Show with me, Peninah Wachera. I hope you guys have woken up well and are excited to face the day ahead. Remember, you can always interact with us through our social media platform, Younib_TV on Instagram, Younib Media TV on Facebook, and there's a number on your screen. You can SMS or WhatsApp 0719-144-144. Remember, you can always send us your morning affirmations. Tell us how you're feeling and tell yourself also positive things so that you can be or you can have a positive day. As it is the norm here at the Younib Breakfast Show, let's go straight to the morning bite of the day. Yes, today we're going to speak about nutrition. How well do you know your nutritional needs? Today, these are the questions that we'll be answering here at the Younib Breakfast Show. Remember, this show is probably brought to you by Younib Organization as well as Miss Yo Ashen, and we're trying to reach out to the community and ensure that you are physically healthy, mentally healthy, and also ensure that you have good mental well-being. Today, I'm joined by a new face, and I want you guys to, for her to introduce herself to you guys. So, karibu sana kwa Younib Breakfast Show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, please feel free and comfortable. Yeah, so please look at the camera and tell us your name and what you do.
My name is Dr. Winfred Waoga. I am a lecturer in the University of Kenyatta University in the Department of Foods and Nutrition. So I'm a nutritionist by profession. Yeah.
Now, guys, you've seen we are having quite a good conversation on nutrition at Muchina, the best when it comes to nutrition. So to start us off, kindly tell us what nutrition is all about.
Okay, in an overview, nutrition is just the way we utilize the foods that we consume, whether drinks or solids, to translate them into the nutrients. The nutrients are the mighty little things that come from our foods that then help us to perform the various functions in our body. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, in a layman's language, that's what
we've gotten to understand what nutrition is all about. How does the nutritional needs really vary from different ages?
Okay, so maybe we should begin by saying, okay, we have already said that nutrition is just basically the sense of how the foods we consume translate into nutrients, which help us perform various functions. Now, that will go true for what the question you're asking, that through the stages of life, life begins at conception.
Yeah.
I believe that's what you also believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, so any nutritional status, what we mean by how the nutrition is of that little embryo, right from the beginning, will influence what happens in the later stages of life. Whether as a baby, as a full-grown embryo, to a baby, to a toddler, to a young child, a teenager, to adults. So it has a far-reaching effect in the sense. So why am I saying this? This is because at every stage of life, there's a critical thing that should happen for that stage of life to flourish well so that it can transit well to the next stage.
Yeah.
So if there's a gap at any stage of life, then that also falls to the rest of the other stages of life. So that's why we're saying that at every stage of life, there's a critical component that should be there in terms of development, whether you're talking of, physiological development, social development, and all that. So when it comes to the variations, it's justified by what is the really emphasis for this particular age group. Yeah.
Okay, so how does nutrition really contribute, or what does nutrition contribute when it comes to the different ages, when it comes to maybe if we eat healthy? What is the contribution of nutrition?
Okay, maybe I'll look at it as in what is the role of nutrition at this other stage, all the stages of life. So nutrition plays a key role at every stage of life. Like we said, if we don't take care of the nutritional needs, of a growing infant. That means we are going to have a poorly nourished toddler. So what are the nutritional needs? There are various nutritional areas of emphasis for different age groups. We begin by the babies who have to breastfeed, and the only thing they need is breast milk for the first 6 months, unless there is any other compelling reason why they should not do that. But so as far as the baby is breastfed for the first 6 months, then they have the boost to keep them to the other stage of life. Yeah. So like, why are we emphasizing? Because as the baby is born, the need is for all the nutrients in terms of whatever the nutrients are required that are in the mother's milk. Then from there, the needs becomes higher. So now they have to add other foods in addition to the mother's milk. So, and then like as at every stage, there is a particular need. So the emphasis of nutrition is towards that particular need. So like for infancy we say it's a period between birth to 1 year. So there is a high rate of growth. That's when the organs are, forming, maturing and all that. So there's more need for energy. So that means at a rate, the growth rate of a baby, an infant is higher than the growth rate of a preschool, a child who is in preschool or somebody like that. So the nutrient needs are so critical that you help this baby infant, mature fast enough. That's why there are those criteria, that's why the babies, when they go for growth and monitoring, it's expected that by 6 months after they have been born, they should double their birth weight. Then by 9 months, triple it. So you can see the progress. If there is a miss there, then the mother is guided to know that there's something that is amiss. Then this is what should be done, depending on what the issue is. Because if this baby does not catch the milestones, it will delay all the other physiological processes later on. So what you were saying, at every stage of life, there is the need, there is the emphasis of what is supposed to be happening there, then the nutrition is geared towards those needs. Yeah.
Okay. So now I want us to go to some specific things, because I know people are just hearing us at Kisema, oh, this is essential, or this is not. So what are those essential nutrients that everybody needs to have good health?
So the essential, let's not use the word essential, because essential in nutrition means something else than what we mean out here. But we are saying the nutrients that are required generally. They are what we call macronutrients and micronutrients. The macronutrients are those that are required in higher proportions, Then the micronutrients are those that are required in lower proportions, but they are not, it's not that their need is less than for the macronutrients. It's just the proportions are less, but they are more important also. So the macronutrients include the carbohydrates, we have the proteins, we have the fats. Those are mainly apart from the protein, of course, they provide the bulk of the energy. So then we have the macronutrients, which are all kinds of minerals and vitamins from various food sources. They have essential functions. That means without them, those functions cannot happen. So that's when the essential comes in, because that function has to be facilitated by those micronutrients and macronutrients in a well-balanced and a well-coordinated balance. So not overemphasis on one at the expense of another. Yes.
What about the example of the macro? Is it the macro? You've given the example of micro.
I've given an example of micro. Macro, we've talked about the carbohydrates, the fats, and the protein. An example of a micro are the minerals like iron, vitamin A as a vitamin C, B. In the B, we have a whole range of B vitamins. We call them B complexes. And then we have, of course, all the other minerals, calcium, zinc. All these have specific functions in our body. So like when we are saying, and then in our current scenario today, we have more of micronutrient deficiencies than macronutrient. We're overdoing the macros versus the micros. So that's why we call it hidden hunger. People are eating, but they are not meeting their needs. Yeah, because they are missing on those essential nutrients.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to do this in a different way.
Yeah.
For example, can you give us an example of a healthy diet for breakfast, lunch, and maybe supper?
That's a very, very interesting question.
Yeah.
And I will answer it by first of all saying, when it comes to what is a healthy diet, we can never generalize for everybody. We can, of course, talk about the composition, but in terms of quantities and foods in that whatever will vary for various people, because maybe as we consume rice, you don't consume rice. So if I tell you it's rice, beans, and vegetable skuma, for somebody else it will be, as we don't eat rice, so what do I do? You know, for somebody else something. But generally, what we are saying, a healthy meal should have, at least in a layman's language, we call it a balanced diet. But what actually that means is that you have you are appropriating all the nutrients that are required. So like in a breakfast, you need a carbohydrate, you need the protein, you need some fats, you need the minerals and the vitamins. So all that can come from a combination of a source of carb, which is a healthy source of carb, which is a healthy source of your protein, which is a healthy source of your fat. So that now when you're saying, we're not just talking about fat, we're not just talking about protein, we're not just talking about how are you even eating that protein? What can if you can tell me, of course, like sausage is a protein food, but if I'm telling you to eat sausage every day, when you can actually get also the protein from a boiled egg, so it's also it's so there's a variation. So we are saying your plate should have all the nutrients in a balanced way, and maybe even have the best options selected from how the food is even prepared and all that.
Okay, so I hope we are now enlightened on matters nutrition. On tumepata some of the things that we can consider when it comes to food. We know now how we can be able to appropriately put the breakfast, lunch, and supper for Anifa to cater all the groups that we've been informed. For now, I want us to take this short break, and we'll be back with more concerning the topic at hand. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is still the Younib Breakfast Show with me, Peninah Wachera, and today we're having a conversation on matters nutrition. So if you have any questions, you can always contact us through our social media platform, Younib_TV on Instagram, Younib Media TV on Facebook, and there's a number on your screen. You can SMS or WhatsApp 0719-144-144. Remember, this show is probably brought to you by Miss Yo Ashan and Younib organization, and we're trying to reach out to the community to ensure that you guys get to understand more about mental health. Remember, if you need any mental health help, you can always get our psychologists through the number 0700-352-250, and they will be able to help you out. So coming back to our conversation, how does nutrition really impact the physical and cognitive development in children?
Okay, we want to appreciate the fact that different nutrients have different roles in the wholeness of health of a person. But there are specific nutrients that really play more critical role when it comes to cognitive development, right from the early stages. In fact, right from pregnancy. That's why you see our expectant mothers have to go to the antenatal clinics. They are given supplements. Those supplements are actually iron and folate. This is because these are the critical nutrients at that time for the developing baby, as we may say that. Not that the others are not important, but these are very critical for the development. And that's why you hear sometimes when there are problems, or rather when the mothers are deficient of this, they may have issues with the health of the pregnancy. Sometimes, so sad, it can also be miscarriages because of the health of the embryo growing into a full-blown baby and all that. So those are some of the important nutrients. Iron and zinc, folic acid, these are the micronutrients we talked about that play a key role in cognitive development, in the brain development, and then of course the entire CNS system development. So these have been researched and they have been found to be the main, not that they are the only ones, but the critical ones for cognitive development in early stages. There are actually a number of researchers that have touched on that, especially for the preschoolers, iron status and vitamin A. Of course, vitamin A is important because it then helps to the rest of the development. So there have been researchers pointing iron deficiency, zinc, and all this to poor development.
Is it the same for adults?
Okay, for adults, if it's a carried forward problem, then at their stage, then you'll be only dealing with either management. You may not reverse because this is a long-standing issue. That's why I began by saying right in the beginning that nutritional status at the early stages of life have a bearing at the later stages of life. This is because, then the critical stages of development, if they are not, transisted well, because there'll be a gap there, so it carried forward. That's why you're finding, like, even for adults who are 40 years complaining of knees and all that, not because now is when they're having calcium deficiency, but they needed to develop their skeleton by the time they are minimum, maybe the age of 18, 19. Like we're saying, after 18, you no longer form new bonds, you no longer grow bonds. If anything, you just maintain what you've already developed. So, like, if calcium was an issue before that, then that means your bonds were not strong enough. So if by 40 years somebody can't climb stairs, that is not a normal thing for a 40-year-old. So some of those that we're saying, so maybe they'll be managed, but not reverse the problem as far as maybe that deficiency, because it's been a long-standing problem. You've mentioned about managing. So let's go. How do we manage now if that scenario happens? So management can take various shapes. From as the whatever, let's say you're already dealing with a case that needs maybe medical attention or whichever other intervention. So nutrition plays a supplementary role to that. But it's a supplementary role in the sense that it will facilitate at least maybe not allowing, let's say if the calcium that is there should not be leaking out. So whatever the nutritional balance of the calcium and the other macronutrients should be in a way that they can sustain whatever little is there. At least it should not leak out of the bones. So in terms of how much you can do, it depends. It's individual. It's individualized because, again, the scale of the issue may not be the same for everybody. So it needs an individual approach when you're managing a patient. Assess the needs. We do that normally in nutrition assessment. And then now you can tell, now this is how far nutrition can help as far as this particular patient is concerned. So there is the aspect of individualization because the needs may vary based on the magnitude of your issues. Even if you have a similar problem, maybe you're all having arthritis, somebody else is arthritis of the leg, somebody is the back, somebody else is whatever the case. So you cannot generalize. Again, that will be, but again, supplements, like I said, nutrition comes in as a supplemental intervention.
Okay. Let's talk about now malnutrition. How can somebody know that I am going through malnutrition? There
are various signs. Some of them are hidden. You might not even feel them. But the general ones, depending on, again, the various age groups, there are some, like for early stages of life, some of the common signs we'll see is issues to do with eye problems. If there is vitamin A deficiency, you find a child struggling with their sight, or they cannot be able to see certain things, even for adults. Then like for other things, like we have things like iron deficiency is also a common one. Now, because iron helps in the utilization of the, how the blood, composition is with what we call hemoglobin. So it facilitates that hemoglobin function. So when there is a problem with iron, then it means the system is not well oxygenated. So for some, they'll be fainting. For some, it will be, loss of consciousness or whatever. It's more or less the same thing. But again, and it can also result to weakness of the body and many, many other things. So each nutrient points out to certain kinds of, so it's basically what function is affected if that nutrient is missing. So when that function is affected, then it means anything around that function will point to what signs somebody is likely to suffer. So we have talked of malnutrition from the sense of undernutrition, but we also have the other side of overnutrition, which is where now we can't ignore, even for the young people, we're having a lot of overweight and obese cases. So it also has its own repercussions in terms of the long-term stay of, as far as health is concerned. Let's just go straight to the repercussions, I know. So tell us more about now the repercussion of malnutrition. Okay, it's a whole range of issues. Like we said, if it's affecting all the later stages of life, then many things will be affected. Let's take, for example, undernutrition cases where we've talked of deficiencies, like, for example, iron. For a young growing girl who is, deprived of the iron in the body, and they are losing the normal, periods, then this young girl later on has to be a mother. Remember, they have not built up their own stores well. And then at some point, these days, we are even talking of teenage pregnancies. So the demand on that young woman will be so much. The innocent baby will not know that this young woman doesn't have enough iron for me, so let me cope. They'll still demand. So that's why you find that some of the issues we are experiencing these days, of issues of poor managed pregnancies, miscarriages, or other kind of things, majority of them may be related to nutritional status of the young lady or young mother. That is one. But of course, all the other nutrients also have, like I said, their own projections. Vision issues, if you have long-standing issues of vitamin A, then as vitamin A, the immunities are lower. So most times you're frequently prone to infections. So, I mean, if somebody is frequently prone to infection, that means they cannot even catch up with their even normal health. So but there is also this other side of excesses of the macronutrients especially, and we are talking of things of overweight and obesity. Now, we cannot ignore it among the young people because it's there, and overdoing of the macronutrients and leading to, of course, obesity and overweight. Now, it also has its own side. It means you're progressing towards some lifestyle conditions at an early age. We're having children, teenagers with heart problems. We're having teenagers and, young people who are not able to, cope with even the normal physiological functions because of this. But that is from the physiological part of it. But, and I'm sure even in the other mental health issues, if they don't feel confident about their body, they don't feel healthy about their body, it will affect how they relate to the rest of the thing of the society, because that's where we end up having with also these other eating disorders, the common ones being bulimia and anorexia nervosa, the extremes of wanting to eat and not wanting to eat, and so there this and of course the interventions will be requiring a concerted effort of various health professionals, including psychologists, to assist in addressing the issue, the underlying issues. So sometimes, especially if it's that related, then the nutritionist, with the help of the healthcare providers, they can be able to handle. But if it's more like maybe psychological, then also it will involve the other wider coverage of health professionals to assist in helping the young people. But nutrition still plays a role.
Okay. So I know that you've already started us when it comes to nutrition and mental health, and I'd like us to just take this short break. When we come back, we'll be answering how it relates to mental health. So don't touch that dial. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is still the Younib Breakfast Show with me, Peninah Wachera, and today we're having a discussion when it comes to nutrition. So before the break, I had said that we'll be answering the question of how nutrition and mental health really relate. So back to you. What is the relationship between nutrition and mental health?
Oh, okay, it's not a direct relationship as of now when we are talking about mental issues, but it has, like we said right from the beginning, it had a bearing right from the beginning. But now when we are talking of mental issues at the moment, the nutrition is part and parcel of the treatments that may be required, yeah? One of them, like we said, in a supplementary, but one thing I want to say is that awareness of what is pro-healthy, in terms of, can I call it mental health, like you're calling it, what promotes. I may say, actually the right thing to say is what promotes, and what works against good, mental health, So what promotes mental health is anything that will support healthy cells of the brain, of the body, and or different organs and tissues. Now, since we are talking about mental health, we are targeting the brains. We are talking about anything that will promote healthy brain cells is what you call supportive nutrition now, promoting the mental health. Now, some of these include all the vitamins we've talked about, including, of course, iron, the zinc, the protein, of course, as an important macronutrient, and the other essential fatty acids, omega-3. You've heard of people being put on omega-3. Now, most of them work to support the health of the cells, but now what will work against the health of the cells, brain cells, is inflammatory foods. What we mean by inflammatory foods, the foods that promote inflammation, high inflammation, which of course again will affect the health of the brain cells. Now, one of it, common one, and which we are all culprit of, is sugar. Whether it's direct sugar in your cup of tea, whether it's your Coke, whether it's your Fanta, whether it's your cake, whether it's your where else do we put sugar? The processed items, the yogurts, the juices, and all that. And we are saying that all this sugar, we are taking it, and it's not actually what we need. It's not what our cells need. It's an empty calorie in the first place. Empty calorie means it's giving you the energy, but it's not giving you these other nutrients we are talking about. So, like, for example, if we are people who consume, let's say if you had a plate of chips and soda, you'll feel full. You will enjoy the soda and you like it. But if you account for what that food has given you, you'll say you have actually had some of the macronutrients. You've had your carbohydrates from the potato. You've had some fat, of course, from the frying, and then maybe the sugar. Not even, you can't, so those are the macronutrients you've had, but they're empty in the sense they're only going to give you the energy. But they're not going to give you the building blocks for healthy cells, the protein that you need for everything else. Yet you feel you have eaten, but your cells are still hungry. So you have eaten, but your cells are hungry for the nutrients that they need. So, if it's a common practice, that's why now we are saying we are not promoting healthy mental health from the nutrition point of view. It may not be the only factor, but it's also an important factor. So if all the other factors are constant, so let's say they are all, the social health is there, psychosocial, all those other things are there, and the only issue is nutrition, then if we control for all this, at least even for the sugar, for example, then you find that your cells will be at least healthy to be able to, do the functions they're supposed to do, because what we mean by mental health is the whole faculty, mental faculty, which begins from where? The brain cells and all that. So healthy brain cells will help facilitate the other functions. If nutrition is the only factor, but as we know, it's not the only factor, but it can be supportive to facilitating, promoting good mental health. Yeah.
Well-being.
Yeah.
Now we
well-being.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now we know. And I know now we are in an age where we are all afraid to get very old when we are aging, and everyone wants to look healthy. Everyone wants to look good when they're aging. So what is the role of nutrition when it comes to healthy aging?
Maybe I should begin by defining aging.
Yeah.
Aging, okay, when do you think, okay, let me not ask you a question. Let me just say, aging began when you were born. Yeah? You began growing. You know, there's the chronological age, which we say, not even when you were born, actually when you are conceived. Yeah? So in that, of course, as the cells were forming, dividing into various structural organs and all that till to a full-grown baby, that was, the aging began there. It's only that what is the rate aging as two areas. There's the breaking down mechanisms and there's also the building up mechanisms. Meaning your growing organs, your forming tissues, those are, in science they call it anabolism. Yeah, it's anabolic. Now there's also the other parts where the old cells and whatever's have to wear out, which involves breaking down. So there is a balance, there should be a balance of that in entire life. So at the early stages, from conception to maybe even adolescence, the anabolism or the, you know, the growing mechanisms overtake the breakdowns. Yeah, what we call anabolism overtakes catabolism. Yeah, catabolism now is the breakdown functions, you know, processes. So when we are talking of aging, I know you're worried about your physiological aging more than your chronological aging. I hope you understand the difference. So chronological aging is when, you know, according to the way the documentations we do is chronological age. When were you born? Yeah. Not even when were you conceived, yeah? Because your processes began there. So when we are here at whatever stage, we are a product of what has been happening all along. So if we have not yet gone so far, some things are reversible, some things are not irreversible. But even then, even for the ones that are not irreversible, can you reduce the rate of them, you know, excessive breakdown, excessive wearing out, yeah? So that's why you're seeing, when you're seeing two people, one is 60 and one is 40, you will actually think maybe the one who is 40 is actually the 60, yeah? And the one who is 60 genuinely is the one who is actually 40. You know, you so that you're like, the example I was giving you earlier is that suppose you are not taken care of your bones, so you are at 70. Honestly, you don't expect these bones now to behave now. Yeah. So it began all that time. But now, from the point of nutrition, we're saying there are foods that can promote and support delayed, they reduce the rate of catabolism, but not necessarily reverse the entire process. Yeah. So that if your bones are weak, then maybe the supplements can support, prevent inflammation, so that the ligaments can support even the bones that are there that are weak. So there are those supplements, but one thing I must say from where I sit is that supplements are not for everybody. It's always important that the supplements that are being given here for aging and all that should be given under assessment. Because what the other problems we are seeing is that toxicity of these supplements. Now people are taking a lot of course, even the omega-3, which is supposed to be a good one, but if it's taken in doses that are not appropriate for a person, we are talking about toxicity. Now, the toxicity of any fat-soluble nutrients is more a risk than even the other ones. So we are talking of, what am I trying to say? We are all interested in aging gracefully. And so what we need is to promote lifestyles that can facilitate that, but not abuse of things that having the market approach saying, maybe you will stay young, or you whatever, your skin will be baby-like and all that. And in the interest of that, everybody will rush for those supplements, but not knowing that there are also side effects of those supplements if they're misused and abused. So there's also that concern. But generally, the aging process should be taken in a balanced way, so that we know, okay, if even simple things like we're talking, if eating health along the lifespan of a person, now if I'm eating what I need to eat when I'm a teenager, and I'm also doing it when I'm an adult, and so even when I'm aging, I will not be badly off, as compared to maybe I didn't do well when I was a baby, and maybe I was not even breastfed. So my mental capacities, my cognitive development was already behind. I was behind milestones, So the same, then I carried forward to the early childhood, then to a preteen, then maybe to whatever. So there's no way now I'm going to do miracles when I'm 50. But I can sustain whatever little I have achieved. So what we're talking is that let's approach nutrition holistically. At any given stage of life, let's lay emphasis on the things that are required and in their right amounts, and deal with issues that can have issues much later. I don't know if I've answered your question.
Yes, you have. As we conclude this conversation, how can families be able to incorporate nutrition, education, and also healthy eating practices to their daily routines?
Families, it's important to support each other as a family. Like we said, even when it comes to struggles of certain eating, as a family, when you work together, it becomes easy. And I've realized even for children, people can learn very fast, and they can adapt easily than adults. So if, let's say, we inculcate this healthy behavior, eating habits and all that to the children when they're young, involve them in their decision making, then it makes them, own the process easy than when we just impose things. Now, eat all these vegetables, but it begins by helping this child understand why they need this vegetable and how best. And now, if let's say, and then maybe children are very practical, it's also good to just in a way let them feel part of the process. They say, okay, we were told that vegetables are good for you because they'll give you ABC. And because a child also wants to be okay, they might say, okay, so I have to eat these vegetables. Yes, you have to eat, but we can try and see how you can. You come help me cut this skuma. I don't know how to cut. Let me show you how to do it. So as they do part of it, they own the process. Then at the end of the day, as they are cooking, whoever is cooking, or if it's the mother or the caregiver or house help or whatever, they can talk about the skuma, what is in the skuma, and how the skuma is going to help the skin of the baby. So, okay, if I'm going to have a good skin out of this skuma, I'll eat it. So it's informing the children, let's say in a family setting, supporting the children to understand information in a language they can relate. So instead of maybe talking about vitamin A and synthesis, tell them it's good for your eyes. Later on, they'll follow it up and understand how it comes to help the eyes. So, and then for other family members, especially if we have teenagers in the house, it's always good to be on the lookout because these are the ones who are more prone to eating disorders. And especially if they can be encouraged to eat together where possible, so that they don't end up carrying their food to their rooms, those who have their own rooms. And because that isolation is already a factor that is likely to cause things like what we were talking earlier about, overeating, no control. But you see, if we're all eating together, it's easier to support each other. And participating, helping them to participate, even like, okay, yesterday we had githeri. What do you think we can eat today? If it's possible, then we are like, okay, now that one is not possible today, maybe tomorrow, because what we have today is this. So then just imposing githeri on them. But if they understand, they will eat the other thing they wanted tomorrow, but because today is the githeri that is available, then it's easier for them to even accept to eat the githeri today as they await for what they had planned to have, which can be done on a later date. So it's participatory, involving them in the decisions and also guiding them, of course, on what is appropriate for them.
Thank you so much for blessing us with your gems, because I'm sure we've gotten to understand more about nutrition. And I'm sure this is quite a big conversation, and we cannot just finish it in one sitting. It's something that we need to continue having conversation in. So thank you so much. If somebody wants to reach out to you, how can they be able to reach out?
Basically through my phone number, which is 0721 347144, or at the Department of Nutrition, Kenyatta University.
Yeah, so that is where you can find Daktari. Thank you so much for your time and for giving us the wisdom about nutrition. For everyone who has made this show a success, thank you so much to Elias Muchina for being behind the camera and also being our director. Asante sana. And to you, our viewers, for being with us since we started the show, for always ensuring that you engage us with your questions, for always sending in your questions and always telling us how you're feeling, your morning affirmations. We are really, really grateful. So thank you so much to everyone. Until next time, do have a beautiful day ahead. Goodbye.